Best upsets. Seth, what's your number one?
It's Leicester City.
Yep.
There is nothing close. They were 5,000 to 1.
Exactly. And the Sixers were 1,000 to 1 when the Sixers were
9 and 73.
When they were the process, exactly.
Mm-hmm. The team that Claudio Ranieri put together, Jamie Vardy, Riyad Mahrez, who's now in Man City, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not only did they win, they won by about 15 points. It's like Secretariat winning by 20 lengths in the
1973. Yep.
It was absurd. And now Leicester City, actually, after a couple-year hiatus, is back and is number two in the Champions in the EPL right now. But that team was unbelievable.
Yes. Oh my God. And that's the thing.
It brought in a lot of people who were not soccer fans originally, because everyone roots for the underdog.
And the Foxes, and supposedly one person made that bet. And
one of them retired.
Yeah, right. Pretty much for sure. But what an upset. And I have number two because we both have number one, Leicester City.
Right.
Number two, I have 16 seed University of Maryland, Baltimore County defeating the number one seed and the number one team in the country, Virginia.
At least
Virginia
one team
Cavaliers.
from Maryland doesn't underachieve.
You did,
not that
right?
I'm bitter or anything.
I mean, and what was crazy about that game was that you would think, okay, the game was close in the first half, but then UMBC's lead kept growing and growing and growing.
Halfway through the second half, you're watching this game, you're saying, Virginia's not even going to make a run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's just crazy. And then you saw his double 15-point lead, 17-point lead. You knew it was over for Virginia, but a happy ending for Virginia.
Probably a catalyst.
That's
for what happened the following year.
Exactly, for them winning the national championship in 2019, and that's great because then you can always say, okay, they were the only team be upset, but they came back and won.
Exactly.
There's always that tale, that part of the story that's always going to be added.
My number two is Roberta Vinci beating Serena Williams in the U.S. Open semifinal. I want to say 15?
2015. And I have that number three.
Yeah.
My number three.
Serena had won the Serena Slam, had won 4 in a row. Was going for the actual Grand Slam.
For the calendar year.
The calendar year, first one since Steffi Graf in 88.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets were going for, this is what I remember about this, tickets were going for about $1,000 a seat for the final.
Yeah.
And then once Vinci beat Serena, they went for like $30.
Yeah, right. Oh, God. And it was an all-Italian final.
Versus Francisco Schiavone.
And Schiavone beat Vinci.
Right. And then I think she retired after that, actually.
Right. And that was weird. But I have that number three for sure. And what's your number three?
Well, my number three was actually Columbus over Tampa Bay.
I was
2019 NHL playoffs. Tampa breaks all sorts of scoring records for most points in a season by a team. And Columbus beats the living heck out of them 4 in a row.
They quit. The Lightning quit.
And that's what the interesting part's going to be going into this year's NHL playoffs. Tampa Bay will be a threat. Boston and Washington are still very high up, but Tampa's obviously a threat led by Stamkos. What happens when they go to the playoffs? Do you have a UMBC thing?
Yeah.
Where like Virginia, they continue and they build upon that? Or do they completely collapse and we have no idea what's going to happen?
We don't, for sure. And it's going. And with Columbus, like, it was just out physical them. That's what it was, and then took their heart for sure. But then Columbus, their lack of speed, came on in the second round, for sure. Now, number 4, at Mississippi State over UConn, 2017. Now, it was the national semifinal, the Final Four.
It wasn't,
but UConn had a long
game winning.
Yeah, like 111 game win streak, something like that. Like, it was just incredible how Mississippi State was able to take them down,
beat them in
overtime.
And
it was on a game-winning shot.
And then they got tired and lost to South Carolina in the national championship.
Yes, with Don Staley, led by Don Staley.
My number 4 was Norfolk State over Missouri in 2012. I had Missouri winning the national title that year, and I thought. So that's why I have Norfolk State, who had Kyle Quinn, who ended up playing, being a journeyman, playing with the Knicks for several years in the NBA. That's why I thought it was because of the way Virginia plays. I think with a bad game, they're always more apt for an upset.
But also historically, you never had a number
historically,
one.
Historically, this isn't even the most significant number 2. Lehigh or Mercer over Duke is more significant.
Syracuse losing.
Well, that was back in Richmond in 1989 with Billy Owens. But this, to me, because I thought Missouri was the best team in the country that year,
Yeah.
That's why I thought this was an upset at that level.
Yeah, but but number one seed losing.
Yeah.
That never happened.
Sure.
Probably in another 10 years, well, 20 years or something.
we'll see.
You never know. So, but then I have number 5 Butler reaching the NCAA title game in 2010 and 2011.
Yeah.
And 2011 they didn't have Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward was drafted after the 2010
When they lost to Duke.
Shot,
that would have been your number 1.
In Indiana, right there.
That would have been your number 1.
RCA Dome.
Exactly. They lose to Duke 61-59, and then lose to UConn in an awful, worst NCAA tournament I've ever seen.
That's where. But UConn had a great. Well, no. UConn had a historical run in that tournament.
Right, but they were not a great team.
You mean the final? The
final was
the final was hard. But no, they weren't a great team. But they won 11 in a row. They won 5 straight. And the Big East was a monstrous conference back then.
Well, Kemba, that was the Kemba team.
Exactly. Like to win 11 in a row, improbable. That's probably the greatest run in NCAA college basketball history. Run. No, the most improbable. That's what I'm saying.
That's different between improbable and
But
best.
that's what made it greatest, though, because
if you don't
expect them.
If you look who they played, it was a bad year in
the Big East, they won 5 in a row in that conference. That was the best conference in college
they won the
basketball.
conference tournament. And I get that, and they ended up going in as an 8 seed, so they were barely making the tournament as is.
Barely making exactly, and then that's
they
what
got
I mean.
hot. But I mean, comparing them to a Villanova run where they beat Georgetown, or an NC State team where they beat Georgia and then they beat Houston.
No. You know what? They had to do more before they got to the tournament. And then my honorable mention: Germany being eliminated in the first round.
They got cocky.
The FIBA men's soccer World Cup, 2018 World Cup. They did.
They got cocky.
It was
yeah. I mean, the one other one that I probably should mention, just kind of looking down, is actually Evansville this year. Evansville, led by Walter McCarty.
That's right. Coincidentally,
going to Kentucky and winning at Kentucky.
Right.
In an absolutely confusing.
But for the decade, though?
As an upset, they were a 30-point underdog.
You know, it was a bigger upset though. Robert Morris over
Kentucky
in the 2013 NIT. That was on my list. I put that out, but that was more because that's how low can Kentucky go.
Yeah, well, Kentucky
they won the national title the year before.
That was fun to watch.